Hi, my name is Sierra Aguilar, and I'll be discussing Zora Neale Hurston. Ms. Zora Neale Hurston exemplifies the theme of overcoming personal responsibilities in two of her literary works, Sweat and The Gilded Six Bits. A little background information on Ms. Zora Neale Hurston. She was born in Edenville, Florida. It was a small African American community. She was born to her mother and her father. Her mother did unfortunately pass right after birth. Her father did end up marrying a woman who he was having an affair with after while married to her mother. This woman did send Miss Hurston off to school in Jacksonville, Florida. Miss Hurston didn't have a lot of money in Jacksonville. She sometimes had to stay with her mom's old friends, or she would have to just do what she had to do. This didn't stop her. She went to school. She still had financial difficulties, and this caused her to become a maid or work as a waitress. Working as a maid, she did encounter many employers who wanted her for sex. She wouldn't keep the job because she wouldn't comply with the sex. Um, Miss Hurston was the queen of Harlem Renaissance. Her writing was just exemplified everywhere. It was different. It was mysterious. It had people thinking. It had people wondering, like, what's going on? The reason why, because it was most of her stories were based in her hometown, which was Edenville, Florida. It was a small town, small African American communities, and people were trying to figure out why, or what's going on in these small communities. Like, this is a small town; they shouldn't have as much drama as a big city. And Miss Hurston was giving them an ideal of what was going on. Many of her stories were based off marriage, betrayal, love, just many of those things, and those things were based off her life. She wrote into her two literary works, Sweat and The Gilded Six Bits. Those kind of had something to do with her childhood. It had something to do with what she went on in adulthood. Sweat was more of childhood, and The Gilded Six Bits was more of adulthood. She did meet a man named Herbert Sheen, who she will be her first marriage, where she would marry him, and it would only last for 4 years. Um, Also, in Sweat, which was written in 1926, it was about the financial difficulties that she encountered, and it was also about her childhood. Um, this was about a story about Delia and Sykes. Delia was a submissive woman. Back in 1920s, women were all submissive. Some women were submissive, not all. I'm not gonna say all, but they they fed husbands, they spoiled husbands, they were husbands with a king, they were just a queen to them. They did everything, they did all the housework. It was no working, it was no going out and becoming a CEO. No, you were the wife did tended to the home. She had a husband who was aggressive. He was about tormenting, domestic violence with her, and it was just about him having cheating affairs, cheating on her with different women, and he would come to home to her and talk to her crazy. And as I know many have heard, when a woman fed up, a woman fed up. This torment caused Delia to turn into anger, and anger turned into her fighting back. She was no longer this submissive woman. She had enough. This did not cause Delia to divorce her husband. I think this is an example of personal responsibility. She took a vow to stick with her husband through many of it. I think Miss Hurston put this in the story to give an idea of that forgiveness is a part of overcoming personal responsibility. We forgive ourselves and we forgive each other. This is also a responsibility that marriage is important. It's a foundation that has to be upheld. When you get married, you have many hardships, but everything that's cracked doesn't have to break. You build it up, you glue it back together, you get it back together, and I think Miss Hurston was really trying to make an example about that and overcoming the personal responsibility of forgiveness. That's a big thing in marriage, is you have to forgive. Sometimes you forget, and sometimes you just have to put things where they back together. That was like another story she wrote, The Gilded Six Bits, which was also about somebody having an adulterous affair, but this time it was backwards. It was about a woman cheating on her husband. Her husband wasn't a submissive husband, but he was a husband who treated his woman like a queen. She did do the same duties as Delia. She cooked, she made sure the house was correct, but this time, we have Joe and Missy May. Missy May loves her husband. She's in love with Joe, But a new man called Slimmons comes into town, and Missy May's eyes gets big, and causing her eyes to get big, she starts to lust. Lust is a big problem. We have to overcome lust a lot. Lust causes you sometimes to do things that you don't want to do. It's just a feeling that's like an adrenaline rush in most people. Back to the story. Joe is a working hard husband. He does everything for his wife. He buys her everything, get her everything. But Slimmons had gold. It is just something different from her, and it caused her to cheat on her husband. Joe does find out about the cheating. It makes him feel like less of a man. Joe also, as I said, sweating the guilty suspicion, kind of similar. Joe has to forgive his wife. Another thing was overcoming personal responsibility is about accepting your wrongs, your faults. Missy May had to accept her faults. She knows she cheated on her husband, and she accepted her faults. But before she could accept her faults, the betrayal and the hurt, deceiving, it made her come down as a person. She felt less of a person. She felt her husband didn't love her anymore. She was going to lose the best thing that ever happened to her, all because of lust. So her husband didn't leave her. In neither story, one of these stories, did their significant other leave him, even though they cheated on him. But it was just showing that overcoming personal responsibilities in two parts. One was the forgiveness of one of each other, and the other one was accepting your wrongs. Missy May accepted her wrongs more than Sykes did, but she accepted them. Her husband didn't leave her side. He still treated her like a queen. He still loved her. And I think Miss Hurston was just trying to give us a chance to understand that forgiveness is a part of overcoming responsibility. We have to accept our faults. And I really enjoyed reading the anthology, and I really enjoyed this semester. Thank you, Dr. Chavis.